Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Clayton.
My name is James and I need some sleep.
You do need some sleep because what time? It's not what time did you get in, it's what time did you wake up and have to leave, isn't it?
Yeah, and then it's the you can't get any shut eye on this coach. I obviously went to Everton yesterday. What time did I leave? 5:30 in the morning and got back 11:30 at night. So, but then
Long
I
day.
got A, I'm wired, you don't go straight to sleep. B, I'm like, oh, okay, I got to watch all the highlights now and yeah, all that kind of
And you'll
jazz.
be doing it all over again in a few weeks, right?
For what?
Well, when you play Liverpool.
Yeah, but I'm gonna stay out. We're gonna stay up in
Okay.
Liverpool for that one on the Thursday night in the Cup semi. Although you watched that yesterday and you think, why am I bothering? But anyway, we'll get on to that. And yeah, I'm gonna really struggle to defend Ange on this one. There's a bit of a spoiler for you, as per usual. We will be discussing all the games from the weekend. But firstly, Clayton is praying that Cole Palmer is injured.
This was a tactical masterclass from Sudge, wasn't it, really? Because he's rotated me in for the week where I am stinking out the gaff with my fantasy team, and my actual football team I support is kind of stinking out the gaff as well. Yeah, I'm praying for Cole Palmer to not play because I benched Justin Kluivert 22 points. Why are you celebrating that?
Because
He's
it's funny, isn't it? You
yeah.
just can only laugh about it.
Oh man, I was watching the game as well. Sat there on Saturday afternoon, like, oh okay, there's one. I benched him against Chelsea, so I was like, okay, benched him last week. That was fine. Oh, it's another. Oh, it's another. Oh, it's an assist as well now. So I've got his 22 points on the bench, and my game week's awful, mate. It's 35 points. I've got Palmer left to play. I did actually have the captaincy on Palmer, but then I got scared with the kind of doubt, and I switched it to Salah. We'll talk about that, but yeah, overall. I mean, it's another red arrow for me, down to 257k. In game week 15, I was at 23k, and I've had red arrows every single game week since. Yeah, that's me. How'd you get on?
No better. I'm on 29 points. Were you on 35?
35, yeah.
I'm on 29. Game week, not for the first time, despite me saying he's not worth the money, kind of saved by Trent from ultimate disaster. I've got Trent 11, Hall 4, Blanks, Raya, Gabriel, Captain Salah, Diallo, Gordon, Isak. I do have three to go tonight because Dominic Solanke, who I've been, yeah, very much kind of Everton and Leicester specifically, is obviously out for a number of weeks. So I've got presumably Colwell to come in to join Palmer and Jackson tonight for a treble Chelsea. Or if Colwell or Palmer don't make it, I've got Timothy Castanier's six. So yeah, I'd probably take Palmer not turning up would be good because that's bad for my rank anyway. So yeah, if we can have Colwell and Castagnier come in and weirdly end up with a back five, that's probably the optimum solution for me. But I very much suspect Cole Palmer will play tonight, mate.
Yep, I think so. Should we go through the games? And I guess the Chelsea Wolves one, will that be covered in People's Poll or Clayton and James on Wednesday?
We will cover on the Clayton and James show on Wednesday. For me specifically, I'm obviously very much on the hunt for a forward. I had been prepping kind of Jackson to Gakpo this week, so the obvious solution would appear to be Solanke to Gakpo. But I do have a couple of different things in mind, possibly even selling Solanke and Jackson to Visser and Watkins. I realise that probably opens me up for some more pain further down the line, but I like potentially attacking that. That would inevitably lead to Raya to Allison, I think.
Okay.
And by the time I want to do that, I might be priced out as Allison went up last night following another 9 point at the weekend. Maybe eyeing up Raya to Pickford next week. That's possibly a little bit dependent on the fitness of William Saliba because that's a possible reason to, yeah, okay, abort if
Yep.
Saliba's bad, which we haven't got the context to at the moment. I probably will end up going Solanke to Gakpo, I think.
Sure.
I'd
So you're
certainly
not
would
looking at go on.
I certainly would rather wait till the Liverpool game tomorrow night's out of the way first, at least.
So
So
you're
I'm
not looking
obviously
at
I'm
using
tight for money.
Arseman.
No, I won't use Arsemanship in
Sure.
24. No, I'll be getting a third Liverpool player in. Have you got something in mind specifically you want to look towards?
Not really. I mean, my team's in a bit of a funk at the minute, but I've been banking the transfers, so I've got four at the minute, so need to
Nice.
have a think what to do. But I've got like Jimenez there, Pedro there, which, I mean, are they problems at their value? Not really, but they're not really doing much for me at the minute. Odegaard's been there, and he's a annoying asset for me at the minute. So I need to sit down and have a think. I was primarily looking at actually using my Arseman chip on slot in 24 anyway. So in terms of Liverpool, I've only got Trent and Salah, so I'm fine from that perspective. But I need to have a sit down and think what to do because yeah, this streak of red arrows is getting on my nerves now, mate.
Just interesting, if you are going to go slot, which is perfectly reasonable, and a lot of people are going to do that, are you thinking of moving him on? Or you just,
In between, no, I'll
yeah,
probably
like
just sit on
in
it.
26, you'd still take him like City away in 26?
Good point. I think yeah, I think I probably would look to move that on actually against City and see. Like, I don't know, could I go to Fulham, Palace at home maybe in that one? I'm sure there'll be other options as well.
You want one that's going to potentially throw you the bonus, I think, don't you?
Yeah, just having a
Yeah.
scan through to
Kieran
26.
McKenna
It's
might
not a
be a
bad
one, mate.
shout. I mean, will there be a new manager bounce for Tottenham for that week? We will see.
It's a possibility, unfortunately. Right. Yeah, let's talk about these games. It feels like a segue anyway, because the amount of times I heard Andoni Iriola's name across yesterday was quite a lot.
What a
Um,
job he is doing. Newcastle
Incredible.
1, Bournemouth 4, and like, I mean, we were talking about form teams in the league, in the country, in the world, right? Newcastle, I think what was it, a 9 match winning streak in all comps
I don't think
prior
they'd
to.
ever won 10 in a row, and weekend would have been 10,
Wow.
I think.
And yeah, and on the flip side, like I mean, Bournemouth's injury crisis is well documented, but I'm sure they're 11 unbeaten in all comps. I saw a match today. It was 10 in the league, which is a club record for them now. Justin, son of Patrick, we spoke about already, but yeah, what a job. 4-1 away from home. And it's funny, you speak about away coaches. I saw a tweet doing the rounds of the Bournemouth ones that left at like 2:30 in the morning to get up to Newcastle. So good day out for their fans.
Yeah, that was a coach journey, which probably was pretty hellish, but I'm sure they were full of joy on the way back. What an incredible result for them. I think, context needed here. One, as you'd said, Newcastle obviously been absolutely flying. Two, Bournemouth, as we'd said last week after the draw with Chelsea, they do really have their own injury issues as well. Basically, no subs bench. And just use Daniel Jebison as a forward who they've had to recall from Watford. They have, I would say, in terms of their kind of the strongest 11, probably got probably eight of them available at the moment. Question marks in terms of right back, centre forward, two big problems. And you can make a case one of the wide players might be different. But I'd also say you could put Christie higher and then have Adams and Cook in midfield. So the actual strongest 11, the majority, the core of it is available at the moment. But the thing, this was not a fluke. This wasn't like a smash and grab counter attacking performance. If you watched the game, I don't think you could look afterwards and go, Bournemouth were not value for a 3-goal victory. They were
Yeah.
so good.
Sai even tweeted, didn't he, that it's the best side he's seen come
All the
and play
Newcastle
them.
patrons were
Yeah.
saying that. I mean, they were saying it's the best team that's played at St James's Park for like years, basically. They completely harassed Newcastle right from the off, aggressive with their press, yet maintained being solid defensively. When Newcastle broke it, it didn't feel like, oh, Bournemouth are in disarray or in real trouble here. Isak kind of barely had a kick.
He's
You couldn't look
quiet.
at, oh, Isak was terrible. Isak didn't see a lot of it, basically. Goalkeeper's decent. Cook covered at right back really well against Anthony Gordon. The left back Kirkes is going to get looked at by everybody in the summer that wants to buy a left back. I would suggest Liverpool might be all over that, by the way. The centre backs are terrific. There's been a lot of attention on Howson because he's only 19. But Zabani plays like someone who's old enough to be his dad. He's not. Zabani's only like 21 as well. They've got two pups at centre back, and they play like two experienced centre backs. I really like Tyler Adams. Me and Suj followed him a lot when we obviously played Sky and when he was at Leeds. He was a great player to keep an eye on. He's really busy. He's had so many injury issues. Cook, as said, underrated, covered really well at right back. Really like Ryan Christie. I always say that. I remember talking about him around the time they beat yourselves and was like, you can tell the difference. He went off when they played Chelsea at home and they lost the initiative in that game. He came on as a sub against you, if I remember correctly. He's influential for them. And the big one that's amazing is obviously there's no forward at the moment. Ex-Livy Utara's gone and played there and actually wouldn't know it was a problem at the moment. Primarily as well because Semenyo and Kluivert are chipping in so well. And I mean, for Kluivert, what a day he's had there with three brilliant finishes. Although the Newcastle fans will also tell you Martin Dubravka cannot dive to his right
Yeah.
and probably should have done better with the second goal. The third one's obviously an incredible hit. The first one, he takes it really well with his left peg. He's flying. And one consequence, obviously, of Bournemouth's injury issues and that lack of bench at the moment is when we really kind of spoke about Kluivert like a month ago, sort of like after the treble penalties at Wolves. It's like he is a 60-minute man now. They
Yep.
can't take him off at the moment. And I don't know if now he's shown more that he can be more of a 90-minute man, and therefore that might change in the future going on, because that was kind of always the Semenyo versus Kluivert debate was, well, Semenyo's 90-minute man, Kluivert's 60, but he's got the pens, etc. If Kluivert's going to match Semenyo for the minutes, Kluivert really is probably the one.
Yeah, that there was a lot of conversations prior to the two games around, like obviously Bournemouth fixtures, right? Chelsea, Newcastle, Forest next Liverpool. But is there a conversation to be had about Bournemouth potentially being fixture proof? Like they turned my team over, they beat Man City, they beat your team, they were seconds away from winning it.
What are you
Yeah,
putting my
I don't know
team in
what.
there for?
You're my friend. I just had to chuck that one
You
in.
ain't now.
Yeah. But yeah, they were seconds away from beating Chelsea, right? So is there a conversation to be had there, or is this a little
Yes,
weird period?
maybe. I do think you do still look at, Forest and Liverpool as the next two fixtures, and I don't feel the need to absolutely dive in. The fixtures after that, though, I mean, I've got them top of my ticker basically 25 to 30. Southampton, Wolves, Brighton and Tottenham away, then Brentford at home in the blank. And if you're carrying through, it's Ipswich at home straight afterwards as well. So, they are absolutely in contention to finish for Europe. I don't think quite Champions League plays, because I do feel when teams try and give them the initiative, there's still a little bit more of a, drew home to West Ham, drew home to Crystal Palace. These are the sort of ones which will hold them back from really pushing, I think, for a Champions League place. And obviously haven't got the points on the board, say, that Forest have got. But in terms of actually qualifying for Europe, yeah, outstanding. I said last week that they're arguably the best pound for pound team in the league in terms of what their output is at the moment compared to what they have available. Really good side. And I guess the other note to consider here is not just about looking at Bournemouth players moving forward, and they really will be really popular again in game week 25, is the consequence that they play Liverpool in Liverpool's double.
Yeah,
And it's such a tough game for Liverpool.
yeah,
Really, really,
it will
really,
be.
really will be. Neil Grover's on Clash of Correspondence this week as well. We're doing Bournemouth versus Forest with Mark Subbins. So I'll leave the Bournemouth chat there. I think on Newcastle, don't be too concerned.
Yeah, one off.
Really, really bad day, but have had an incredible run leading to this. Possibly a little bit of fatigue coming in. They've had a few players who obviously going into midweek had obviously kind of been given a few days off, such as Isak, etc. They weren't at their best against Wolves Wednesday. They obviously were far from their best on Saturday, although I do think that's primarily a big impact of the opponent was incredible rather than Newcastle were that atrocious. I just think Bournemouth were absolutely outstanding. And if you've got your Newcastle assets, ultimately it's Southampton away next week. There isn't really anything to discuss. I don't think you're going to move any of these players on, other than maybe Jacob Murphy, because he may have picked up a calf problem. We haven't got confirmation of if the longevity of that, but he's obviously gone off with that injury. If he's ruled out for a while, you're going to be tempted to look straight at them Bournemouth guys, ironically, aren't you?
Yeah,
I thought, just to mention a few others, Lewis Hall, after Newcastle won at your place in the Cup, I said the next day, wow, he was really bad.
yeah.
It was
I do
really
think that
bad,
was a
Lewis
one
Hall.
off
Yeah,
today.
no, I also agree with
On
that.
Saturday.
Not like, Livermento's going to go to left back now and Trippier's going to go to right back. I'm just saying that on the day,
Yeah, he wasn't great.
he didn't play well. And there's possibly, yeah, a little bit of element of fatigue in that. Maybe in hindsight, Hal would have changed the team up a little bit more, possibly. But yeah, I just think it's full credit to Bournemouth rather than putting a huge analysis into how bad Newcastle were. Isak is still very captainable this week, but I suspect the majority who were thinking of taking Salah on this week with Isak, which is still perfectly reasonable to do, probably watched Ipswich yesterday and are going to have second thoughts about that now as well. I think the time to invest in Newcastle new might have passed. Yes, it's Southampton this week, but then Fulham, City, Forest, Liverpool, West Ham away, possible blank.
Yeah, I can understand if people still want to go, like if they don't own Isaac, if they still want to go for 2 weeks before they potentially move it
Oh
on.
yeah, like
Like,
if you if well yeah, if you're wild carding in 25, for example, then yeah, they're obviously still right near the top of your radar if you haven't got three. But I think you probably would have already been forcing that move in. Hall owners shouldn't be that concerned. Same for Gordon. Isak is still captainable this week. I don't know if that now might Nick Pope's close. Whether we might now get the change of Mike Bravka and Nick Pope. There's also a little bit of question mark in the centre backs now because obviously Sven Botman's back fit. What the favoured two will be, I think ultimately it will go back to being Botman and Shea.
yeah, that's what I
As a
think as well.
consequence, I don't think there's a huge concern for Lewis Hall owners that Burns going to play left back. He could on occasion, but I don't think it's a huge concern.
On to the Saturday 3 o'clocks. Three of them, all three of the same results. And the first one was Brentford nil, Liverpool 2.
Well,
A
I'm
lot
going
of
to pass
people.
this over to you, Claes, because you said you watched it, which you don't want to admit because you're concerned the police are going to knock at your door.
No, do you know what? Yeah, I'll say it with my chest. I did watch it. Come at me, Met Police. Yeah,
We
Liverpool.
know
Like,
where you live. We know where you live.
I'm gonna emigrate to Portugal with such. Yeah, Liverpool were good in this game. I think it's one of them where you're seconds away from an outcome-driven narrative, which wouldn't have reflected the game I was watching. Like Brentford looked like they were causing Liverpool issues territorially, like where they were kind of running into space, but without really getting into clear areas where they could convert into chances. And Liverpool, like it just as the game went on just felt like they were overwhelming them physically, to be honest, as it went on. And like that, I mean, everyone's probably seen the stats doing the rounds from the weekend. I think it was 37 shots in total. Like, I don't even know what their expected goals would have been, Liverpool, at the end of the game,
It
but
wasn't that high. I mean, it was high, but it wasn't like
wasn't it?
off the charts. I think that number, the 37, I'm sure they put it up match of the day. Saturday was the most by an away team in a Premier League game since Opta started doing stats.
Wow. I mean, yeah, it did feel like that. Like as I was watching it, oh, and obviously there's probably a bit of bias here because I'm watching it with my Arsenal hat on, so I'm probably in the camp of like, oh God, it's coming, just kind of setting my expectations. But yeah, Liverpool were completely dominant, I thought, in this game, while Brentford caused them periods of problems. You spoke about wanting to go to Gakpo from a fantasy perspective. It was obviously Nunes that came on, got the 2 goals. I've seen a couple of the questions when you put the tweet out were around that. Do you think there's any impact on
It's blurred
Jimenez
it
there?
worse, hasn't it? Let's be honest,
Yeah.
because it's not like, oh, he couldn't go, oh, I'm going to play Nunes at home to Ipswich. Like he could, couldn't he? What I would say is I'd be extremely surprised if Nunes started Bournemouth away or Everton away.
Yeah,
But
I same.
I guess if he
But the
picks his
Ipswich one,
strongest team to get the Champions League job done tomorrow night, this is it. If Gakpo plays 90 minutes tomorrow night, am I looking at Saturday with nerves? And obviously we don't know the situation with Jota. What I would say is obviously Jota didn't play at the weekend. He got injured again in the second half of the Nottingham Forest game where he could have come on and obviously got a hat trick. We don't know what that looks like yet, but we'll get obviously two Arne Slot press conferences this week. So if it's bad, we're going to find out. Now, clearly, under that circumstance, the favoured three is Gakpo, Diaz, and Salah. So if Jota was ruled out for a while, yeah, I don't think there's too much second thoughts on me going to Gakpo under that circumstance. Just purely that's the one that's going to clearly work for me now rather than what I'm taking Gordon out this week. I don't want to, right?
no.
It's for Diaz or Jota. Next week, I don't mind so much. But for me, with the Solanke issue now, it's almost the exact money. I don't have any money in the bank. Solanke to Gakpo will highly likely be what I end up doing under that circumstance. So if Jota was ruled out, that would obviously clear up the scenario. For those who've still held on to Jota, you need the info. It's worth remembering for 24, it's Bournemouth Saturday, Tottenham Thursday, Plymouth Sunday, Everton Wednesday, then Wolves Sunday. I think he picked close to his strongest team in the three league games and probably very close to it in the League Cup semi-final against Tottenham with a very heavy rotation against Plymouth in the FA Cup.
Yeah. On the
That's what I'd imagine.
on the defense, like if people are looking for another defensive asset to add to Trent, would you just go Kanate, Van Dijk? Like I would avoid the left back because he he rotated them again on Saturday, and yeah, that just
Yeah.
seems like a
I
position to
spoke
ignore.
last week that like if something happened to Robertson that gave us clarity, you'd want to go Shimikas. I think at the price he is, it would be easy enough for most people to go from an under 5 million defender just to put him in, or even just take away from, if you are on double Arsenal defend like a Timber to Shimikas, for example, if that was the scenario. But I do think that probably needs Robertson to be injured, which he's not at the moment, for Shimikas to be considered. The rest go in order of the price. It is Trent over Van Dijk over Canate. It's right, the kind of
Yep.
1 million odd difference between them all. And although I've obviously been quite critical of the money that I spent myself on Trent, I certainly arrive at this point and I'm glad that he's there. So, like, if I was free hitting in 24, there's no doubt I would put Trent in. So it feels to me like it's Salah, Trent +1. Then it's your preference on whether you want to go down the defensive route or the offensive route. And certainly in Allison, Van Dijk and Kanate, I don't think there's particular reason to fear the rotation with these players. It's
No.
obviously not with Van Dijk and Allison. Allison is prone to the odd injury. We've
Yeah, you
seen
can't
that
control
historically.
that really,
No, I
can you?
know,
But I
but
know what you
you
mean.
don't want
But
to piss about with the goalkeeper position.
no, not at all.
Offensively, as it stands, you'd have to go Diaz over Jota. As it stands, you'd have to. And I think, yeah, despite Nunes' 2 goals at the weekend, it would still be Gakpo over Nunes. But it could be. We've seen narratives of this with sides who've gone for the title over the years, where you have a player who's kind of nowhere near it, and then suddenly has a bit of a streak, and you go, do you know what? Let him run with it.
Yeah, while he's in that moment. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
possibly.
possibility. I will not be buying Darwin Nunes at 7 million.
No.
Unless there was, I mean, if there was a scenario this week where Jota's ruled out for a while and then Gakpo or Diaz pulls up tomorrow night, then I suppose I do.
Yeah, I'd consider it, but I'd need to see more. I need to see more before I'd go there. Just yeah, on Liverpool though, like their options off the bench, so good. Like, the ability to
Yeah.
just change it and keep that momentum going. Yeah, really, really
I
impressive.
mean, with Nunes, I saw a few of the Liverpool patrons talking about it the weekend. Like, it's kind of third really big late winning away goal for them over the last couple of years. He had the 2 goals he scored late at Newcastle right at the start of last season when they only had 10 men on the pitch. And he also scored the winning goal at Forest, which was so late in sort of like, I think, February, March period last season. So, yeah, if you're bringing on the likes of Darwin and Jota or Darwin and Diaz or Darwin and Gakpo, like to energize your team, I mean, yeah, they've got the most power going forward, and I don't think there's little debate about it. But I also understand for people heading into a double game week why that would make you want to consider the double defense.
Yeah,
But I don't know how many people would get through 24 and not want 3 of them.
Salah's role in this game was interesting, because like the stats we kind of spoke about already, but it didn't feel like he was central to getting those shots. He felt like he had more of a creative role in this game. And I don't know, like a lot of people like myself got scared with the Palmer doubt switch to Salah captaincy, but I feel like it's one of them. When you hear the stats of the game, I mean, I felt like Liverpool would go there and win. I felt like they'd create the chances to score goals, but fundamentally come away with nothing from a Salah captaincy.
Do you know what I'd love to say? This is a task for someone which I can't be bothered to do, and neither can Clayton. I'll speak for you. I'd be really interested to see the difference in Salah's XG and XGI data first half v second half.
Yeah, I reckon there's a big drop off because I feel like he typically starts very strong.
No, I bet he's way up in the second half, Clay.
Do you think?
Yeah, way up, way
Interesting.
up. The amount of games I've watched this year, and you've been, I feel like it's quite quiet, and then you've ended, now he's got 2 goals and he's scored in the second half.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. I thought you meant first half of the season versus second half of the season. I
sorry,
misunderstood you.
clarity. No, first half of matches versus
Okay.
second
Oh,
half of
yeah, no,
matches.
agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Second halves on Brentford. Probably not helped by the fact that obviously played had to have the comeback against City on Tuesday as well. May have played a little bit of a role with the amount of efforts they give up on goal in this game, although it was a 4 day break for them. Vissa and Bumo very much on radar for me. Vissa could even solve my issue here. If I've got real doubts about Gakpo, I look at Vissa now. Palace away, Tottenham, West Ham, Leicester, Everton, Villa at home, then Bournemouth in the blank. That's not bad, you know.
Yeah, he's on my radar with Pedro and Jimenez as well.
Yeah, Vissa and Bumo, really good options. Would not look defensively, but yeah, for Suj, as I told you last week, if you're listening, boss, I probably would just keep hold of Flecken at the moment. Another 3 pointer at the weekend, despite conceding twice against arguably the best team in the league. I wouldn't be looking at anything else of them at the moment, though.
From the best team in the league to one of the worst. Leicester nil, Fulham 2. That's now, I think, seven that Leicester have lost in a row. They've not scored in the last four at home. It's gone.
Eh, You can see my face.
Yeah, it's no surprise
No,
really.
you know why you can see my face, right? Look at the fixtures.
Yeah, but I don't know. That even the first game when Ruud van Nistelrooy came in, I think it was against West Ham, right? I watched that game. I was like, I think they fluked it even in that game, to be honest.
Yeah, and then a draw against Brighton afterwards as well. Has it been lost every game since that, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not going to criticize Leicester on this podcast at all. So if you want to do it, Clayton, the floor is yours. I'm sorry, they're playing my team. No, no.
I didn't watch this game because I was watching Brentford Liverpool, so this was a match of the day jobby for me. But no criticism. Just I think it's one of them. A team that loses seven in a row but doesn't really surprise me when it happens speaks volumes. And it's a shame because I quite like Leicester as a football club, but yeah, nothing really to say on them, to be honest. I think it's more of a Fulham story here. Like they're 8 points better off than this time last year. They probably could have, should have had more. Tough couple of fixtures coming up before the fixtures turn into a bit of a mixed run. But yeah, really impressive campaign from them so far.
Yeah, on Leicester, I would just summarize by saying, irrespective of what happens against my team on Sunday, I don't think that they're in a stronger position now than before they appointed Ruud van Nistelrooy. I mean, probably points wise that goes without saying, but I just think how you feel about them. I don't think there'd be many people listening to or watching this right now going, do you know what? I really think Leicester are going to stay up.
No.
I don't think many people are thinking that. And probably not thinking it, in fairness, about Ipswich this morning either. For Fulham, blank for Jimenez would be a bit of a disappointment for
Yep.
owners. Um, but there's still United at home this week, so I wouldn't want to bin that. I guess afterwards, when you see Newcastle away and Forest, it feels stingy. And you may have to make a decision before you know if Fulham play in 29 or not. Because you probably may well look at Newcastle away and think, yeah, this is my time to move. And it might be that people are looking to go up. You've got, haven't you,
Yeah, I've
Jimenez?
got him. Yeah.
So what are you thinking here? Are you thinking
Yeah,
like Visser as well a little bit?
yeah, that's what I was just saying a few minutes ago. I think with him and Pedro sat there, I'm thinking this has got to be one of the guys that I'm looking at for one of them. And it probably would. I don't know which one would be the priority sell for me out of the two, but it's tough at their value because it's like, what am I expecting out of them? But I do want more from one of my forward positions.
Well, you want to attack the fixtures with those guys where you can and stuff. So when Jimenez hits 24, if you can go up to Visser who plays check notes, oh yeah, you can fill in the blank Tottenham Hotspur. Like you may want to consider that move, right?
Yeah,
Also, though, I think people may be looking to get up towards a Gakpo level with that as well. I don't think he's a panic or a huge problem or anything, not at all. The midfield guys, I wouldn't want anything of at the moment. I know Iwobi got the 2 goals at West Ham, but we have to read the room and realise how fortuitous that was. So I'd be possibly looking to move that on again after this week if I owned. Robinson, those who got the value are clearly not moving on. I'm not moving on the likes of Castagne, and anyone else that's on Anderson is not going to do that either with the saving the price on those guys. I mean, Robinson, in many cases, you probably play this week. Again, depends what you've got, right? I suppose you're not benching Trent against Ipswich. You're not benching Gabriel at Wolves, whether even if Saliba is unavailable. And you wouldn't bench Hall at Southampton. So, like, there's no chance of me playing Castagne this week, right? When I've
no.
got that free. Again, 8 pointer though for Robinson.
Yeah,
And I
he's
think he's survived. No, I don't believe anyone's stolen, as I've heard, stolen his bonus this week. That will stick now, guys.
on Fulham as well. Sander Bird came back into the team, right? And I think that's
Yes.
yeah, quite a big thing for them
It
ahead
gives
of the
them
tough
more
run.
it gives them more freedom to change what they do. So if they want to go like a 4-2-3-1 and sit Lukic with him, or they can use Lukic aggressive as a presser, or they can put a footballer next to Berge. Like I'm not saying Lukic isn't, by the way, but Tom Kenny is very cultured in terms of his distribution. Or you can have runners like Iwobi. So yeah, him being back, I think he's just a little bit more comfortable sitting there deeper, and his distribution is good as well. I know they were highlighting the weekend like his ball winning. He's a good footballer, all right?
Yeah, he
He
is.
kind of glides around the pitch. He's a good player.
On to the next one. I described Sudge's absence as a tactical masterclass, and yeah, I should double down on that because West Ham nil, Crystal Palace 2, no shot on target for West Ham.
Mm.
So yeah, what's the takeaways from this one?
Well, I mean, the biggest one is I think probably don't read too much into West Ham at the moment because, like others have got injury issues. You take the likes of Bowen and Somerville out of this team. Obviously, there's no Antonio for obvious reasons and Fulkrug as well, right? For a club like West Ham, that's missing way too many attacking players. They've obviously changed it up where they've gone with a back three, which I completely understand with the personnel that they got available and obviously matches up against what Glasner was doing. But then you're really like, you look at that midfield three, Soucek, Alvarez, Rodriguez, and Soucek arriving in the box can obviously contribute. But in terms of what it's providing for Paquetá, who's not like an out and out forward, and neither really is Kudos, I think it's almost inevitable you're going to struggle. I mean, plus, you look at that back three, Mavropanos, Kilman, and Cresswell.
Yeah, where's the distribution
Yeah,
coming from?
well, would Leicester buy any of them?
Yeah, but I get the point you're trying to make there. It's not great.
Yeah, so I think Potter's walked in there in a really, really difficult time. When me and Suj previewed the game on Patreon on Friday, we pretty much said that if it wasn't the fact that Potter was coming in with a bounce, we definitely think Palace would win.
Yeah.
We're just questioning that West Ham had obviously had a little bit of a boost Tuesday night. They beat with in Fulham a team that's been better than Palace so far this season. I think Palace very quietly beginning to do the business now. It feels like it's like two defeats in eight or something like that. I mean, there's no danger of being in trouble. They've pulled themselves up to about 12th or so, I think, in the table. I think Glasner has certainly come over that period where people were really concerned about him. And obviously, you can have a look at Palace assets here, right? I mean, you only have to look at the next four home games that they've got, and four of the next six are at home. It's Brentford, Everton, Villa, and Ipswich. That's four
Yeah.
home games. It's pretty good. United away and Fulham away, the other two games. The problem is, I look at Mateta as a potential solution for me, and you go, "Oh, but they probably are going to blank in 29." And it's all well and good saying, oh my God, look afterwards. It's Southampton away in 30. But Mateta's probably not the sort of ticket I'm going to hold on the bench in 29 because as it would stand, I'd need to hold Isak.
Yeah, it's gonna be
So what am I
someone
going
that.
one up front in 29?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, but I don't know. I'm someone the way I play this game, like 29 for me, I probably won't start working towards until 25, 26. So I still like the idea of going for Mateta while he's got a good run and then kind of dealing with that problem nearer the time. For people, I've seen a lot of disgruntled SAR owners. What would the advice be to them?
It'll be disgruntled because over the last 2 weeks, you've had Clive at 22 points and Diallo 20 points ahead of that. And you were thinking, well, Sar's underlying was looking quite good. You're probably not hoping for 20 pointers and stuff, but hoping to get more out of this. And of course, very recently, Eze's now gone on a little streak of returns. I mean, look, with what they've got next, playing Brentford at home, I wouldn't be in a rush to move that on. Certainly not. But I could understand maybe if it's then another blank this week, you maybe consider looking to move that on.
Yeah, I guess it
But
was the early sub in this game as well that probably uh, put the little bit of concern into owners.
problems if you wanted to flip him to a Bournemouth player, for example, be it Kluivert or Semenyo, you probably want to wait to 25. But Palace got Everton at home in 25. That don't feel right. And going earlier when, yes, they're in great form, but Bournemouth play Liverpool in 24, that don't feel right. Going from Sarr to Kluivert this week doesn't feel right. I get it. There's a form element here. It doesn't feel right. Palace are playing Brentford. So I think it's probably largely a stick. I wouldn't like upgrade Sarr to Eze. I'd hold what I've got at the moment. And also remember he did go into this weekend with a little bit of a tight hamstring as well. Full week, hopefully, to get ready for the next one. I wouldn't be hugely concerned. Mateta's the best attacking one to have. Defensively, just a note on Mark Gay. Palace now kept 3 clean sheets in 5. One of the ones they didn't keep a clean sheet in was Southampton at home, and he was suspended. So he's got across his last 4 appearances, I think that's 32 points. It's obviously 23 just over the last two as well. Two bonus at the weekend against West Ham to go on top of the 15-pointer at Leicester. Is only 4.5. If people are looking for defensive cover and if they don't need it in 29, you'll do a lot worse than that. You could go Lacroix is also the same price. possibly have a little preference for Gay. Worth saying, however, Lacroix also got bonus at the weekend, 1 point, and he also picked up 2 bonus points in the victory at Leicester as well. So both capable of the bonus. I wouldn't go trying to save that zero point 0.1 on Chris Richards at the moment. Munoz obviously still appeals and has rewarded owners. I guess ideally you do still pay the extra for Munoz over a Gay or Lacroix if you're interested. With Palace, ultimately, you just need to keep factoring 29 into your thinking at the moment. But yeah, they'll certainly get some interest. There's no reason to go and have any interest in West Ham at this moment.
Do you see, just final one before we move on. Do you see Mateta's second goal, the penalty?
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
oh,
it's a strange one. I mean,
should
to
have.
caveat that, I love the first goal because he
Yeah,
looks for all the
really
world like
nice.
he's going to try and bend it, and he really whips it back hard and low. So takes the first one really well. Ultimately, look, he scored the pen. Whether you think he's shit or not, he'll be on the next one because he scored.
Yeah,
You don't
very true.
change penalty takers if they've scored unless you do weird things like Arsenal do.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. On to the Sunday games. Nothing to see in the Saturday 5:30. Arsenal 2, Aston Villa 2. I don't know where to start with this one, James.
Can we start with the guy who stayed in the ground?
Oh yeah, what a helmet!
That's harsh.
No, shit. I don't know. Is that for show? I'm very. I don't know what the word
You
is.
have to
Cynical.
know under that circumstance there is a chance you're going to end up on the TV.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm quite cynical with shit like that. I'm like, oh, are they just playing up to cameras? And I think I'm largely influenced by the channel of Arsenal Fan TV, which I hate. So yeah, but yeah, there's that clip of the Arsenal fan doing the rounds. I mean, maybe it's genuine. Maybe I'm just being a wanker. But yeah, it's 2 points dropped. Really disappointing in the circumstances. I think Saliba, obviously, you touched on hamstring issue. Not really sure on the timeline there. Seen unofficial reports saying maybe 2 weeks. Could he be touch and go for the game against City on the 2nd of Feb? I think that is. Where
I've
do I?
seen 2 months rumored as well, though.
Oh, Jesus, don't say that. I've not seen that.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, fair play. It's
We don't have the info. Like, it could just be that it's tight after the Wednesday game and they've not taken a chance. I'm sure he won't play against Zagreb. That would be
no
weird
way.
to force him for that. But yeah, could he play at Wolves at the weekend? I don't think we're particularly ruling him out, are we? We
I'd be
can't at this
surprised if he.
stage.
Yeah, you're right. We can't officially, but I'd be surprised if he plays against Wolves, just based on what we've heard and stuff. But yeah, got to wait for the official scans and see what we get. But in terms of the game, like, okay, see Saliba's ruled out. See the domino effect of okay, Timber has to go centre back, Partey to right back, Marino comes into midfield, and do you know what? I was thinking, okay, Partey right back. Forget. I'll talk about the instance in a second, but don't like it anyway. But I'm just not really sure what else we can do at the minute with Ben White not there, Tomiyasu unavailable. And the game starts, and I don't know about you, but first 10 minutes, I thought we started quite well. I I think, especially as an Arsenal fan, I can really tell when there's what the philosophy is going to be for us, the way we start games. Sometimes I can tell, oh, okay, we're going to try play it in the first phase, we're going to knock it around the centre backs, go for that control. And there's other games, the way we start, like against Tottenham midweek, the way we started this, where I'm like, okay, it seems like there's a bit of an intent to kind of move it forward a bit quicker. And I felt like that in the first 10 minutes. And then I don't know what happened, but it felt like we kind of dipped a bit, but then got the first goal. And I mean, Trossard, I thought I've been quite critical of his performances recently, but I thought he was quite good yesterday, on Saturday, sorry, and did well. Got the cross in. Martinelli beat Matson. Thought Martinelli did quite well against Matson in the first half, but
Some really struggled.
yeah.
Really struggled.
And credit to Unai there, like really good sub to kind of proactively change that at half time. Digne comes on and
No, we should just start Lucadine in the first place. But
I don't know,
anyway,
like Lee called it as well in his predicted team. He said he thought there'd be rotation there, in the left back spot. But yeah, go 1-0 up, go 2-0 up, and I'm thinking, okay, fine, this is going to be all right now. I didn't think we would deservedly 2-0 up, I must say. Like, I thought it was one where we had phases where we looked good, but phases where I thought we looked indecisive in the final third. Like, all things I've been saying for a few weeks now, like kind of devoid of ideas in terms of how to break down certain opposition in the way they defend against us. Like, we're far too happy to play outside of the block. Really struggling with that incisiveness to get in between the midfield and defensive line in central areas. And I know I get it, like the whole progressing into wide areas, especially against a team like Villa, because I don't know if you felt this, but For me, the only times I felt threatened by Villa were when they regained the ball, but they were looking to just go direct quickly. And like Watkins was staying high up, he was positioning himself really smartly, like trying to
Yeah.
drag the defenders wide, get it in between them. And so, in terms of tactics, I get why we were kind of forcing that wide progression. Didn't want to lose it centrally. Like you look at the athletes that Villa have in that midfield area of, I know he went off, but Anana, Rogers, Ramsey, like I get it, but it was uncomfortable viewing again in periods. And then Villa get the goal back. Tielemans, really good run from him. Could Marino have done better there? And then the second goal, I mean, that's Sunday League defending. Like that is the basics
We
of,
don't expect it from you, mate. You never
but
defended a cross like that against my team 3 days earlier. I know that.
no, but I mean, and this is the party at right back thing, right? Like I think you can clearly see there's a midfielder there that doesn't know how to defend from a set piece. And like even because I play midfield, and it's one of them things where you always wait for the defender to get it out, and then you kind of clear your lines, right? And you can see it's unnatural to him, but that is schoolboy. There's no excusing that. And then as the game goes on, I'm thinking in my head, we're probably not going to score. And granted, like we get Trossard into a good area. Was he offside? The goal, by the way, like it's a handball. Like I've seen Arsenal
Are you
fans that
sure, Clates?
fucking hell. Like so, I mean, I'll be honest. Like when I first saw it, I wasn't so clear. Like with the highlights I saw on Sky and stuff. But then as I saw it afterwards, it was like it literally clearly hits his forearm. And like some of our fan base have been embarrassing me this week with how they kind of tried to paint that one.
I mean, I saw one from one Arsenal account. It's shown a video of it, and it's like, am I mad? But he doesn't handball it, and it's like, I'm really tempted to say that you must be because I don't know
Yeah,
how you can't
I was the same.
see
What it
this.
was one of them when you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like that kind of the blue red dress thing, isn't it? But yeah, really disappointing. I think to go 2-0 up against a team like Villa in the circumstances we're in with like the injuries, not being able to rotate and stuff like that, that is just criminal. You can't do that when, especially with Liverpool kind of going and winning earlier in the day. Yeah, and we've there's two more drop points. Villa did well to get the draw. I thought the draw was a fair result. They could have nicked a couple as well. Like they hit the post themselves, Tielemans in that period
Hmm.
where they got back into the game. And yeah, I said this, I can't remember if it was with you or on my Arsenal channel, but like there's been periods recently where Arsenal aren't conceding consistent high quality chances, but we look vulnerable a little bit in transition where teams are running through us. And I think a lot of it is fatigue at the minute. Like with the injuries we've got in the defensive line, we can't really rotate. And I think as a result, you're having to put people out of position. People are playing through, I think, extreme fatigue. And yeah, I think there's going to be more, unless we add in the transfer window, I think there's going to be more results like this and drop points, unfortunately. So yeah, not great.
It's really unusual to see you can see two goals from crosses like that. What I would add is on the first goal, I know he doesn't touch the ball, but the movement from Watkins does the goal. It's a brilliant delivery from Dean,
Yeah.
but Watkins, is it Timber he took away? It might
I
be
think it may
McGab.
have been Party.
Must No, I think it was Timber. He took Timber
Okay.
away, which opened the space for Tielemans to get in. Once your centre backs are too spread, you've got a problem. The second goal is it's just so unlike you. White Party steps out. He
Uh,
obviously thinks he needs to play offside, or he's got a fear in the half millisecond where you have to make a decision where he feels like he's too deep and he needs to get out. And Watkins was great, by the way, and there's been a lot
really
of
good.
concern about him in terms of his fitness, I think, almost throughout this season. Yeah, his ability to keep your lot on their toes was very different from, say, Dominic Solanke's performance against you on Wednesday. Like Watkins, you probably would have felt when it got into him, like, I fear this a little bit. He looked really good, Ollie Watkins. And next few are good, right? West Ham at home, Wolves away, Ipswich at home. The thing for me is if I go for Watkins, that then probably gets chained onto something else, but it could get chained onto something like Cunha, for example. Watkins isn't out of my thinking, but I have to take Jackson out to do that as well, and then I'm cut off of the second Liverpool attacker basically if I make that decision. So probably won't. Rogers still a really good option. There's not too much concern about that. You probably want to play him in the majority of the next three. I still wouldn't go for them defensively. Though I would add with Tyrone Mings in the team, I think they defend the penalty area better. Pau Torres is a really good footballer,
Yeah,
Tyrone Mings, I
defender.
think, has ordered the leadership, the aerial.
He's just quite front-footed in the way he attacks the ball when it's
He's
coming in there.
aggressive.
Yeah,
He's aggressive in and around that area, and I think he makes them a bit strong. I mean, him and Concerts should really be a really good pairing for a fixture like this. For Arsenal, it's interesting. You probably don't want to buy anything new, I'm
yeah,
guessing, at
not
this
right now.
stage for fantasy yet. You look across the next four games, and I see Wolves, City, Leicester, West Ham, and I still very much foresee that as being 12 points. Wolves and Leicester are decent away games. City at home, yeah, fine. They'd smashed Ipswich, whoop. And then West Ham at home. It's like, why am I not looking? Maybe.
Well, I guess
I
most people already own, right?
well, yeah, and but also I'm thinking of cutting, right? So certainly, big mistake I made in FPL years ago was I started the 18-19 season with treble Liverpool defence. Van Dijk, Robertson, Trent went for the lot, and Allison got injured in the first game. And rather than being like, "Oh, this is a major problem," thinking that's okay. I'd still
Yeah.
mainly got these guys in for particularly the fullbacks for offensive stuff and that, and they're winning every game like 2-1, 3-1, and it was never ending. If Saliba's out for a while, I think you've got to smell that that would be enough reason to say, I'm not sure I want double Arsenal defence. But at the same time, I'm not convinced that I want to move Raya on. And I definitely still don't want to move Gabriel on under any circumstances.
No, no. Uh, yeah, neither would I, to be fair.
I think for Martinelli owners, and there will be some out there, there is a strong possibility that you don't have free Liverpool. There's a strong possibility at the moment you're sitting there on Martinelli, Gordon, Palmer, Salah, plus a Rogers, Diallo, something like that. You are going to be strongly looking at Martinelli to something like Diaz this week, I think, under that circumstance, aren't you?
Yeah, makes sense with the double coming up.
I would have
Yeah,
thought so.
it was one of them looking at watching the game, and I think especially because I watched the Liverpool one and saw the kind of the way they powered up from the bench, and I was looking at our bench, like we had two academy players on there, brought on. I think the only sub we made was maybe bringing on Raheem Sterling, and for Martinelli, yeah, frustrating. And even Villa subs, like they brought on Duran, Bailey.
Yeah, it was the psychological. We spoke about that a lot this week, right? Liverpool dropped points at Forest Tuesday, probably should have won, but didn't. Then you win the big game on Wednesday, and then with minutes to go, you're thinking, are they about to drop more points? And then you get slapped, and it's like, okay, probably would have maybe taken them only getting 4 points this week once you're hitting in the second half of the season. And then for you not to capitalize, it's as you were, and it's two games less. Yeah, I clearly you can't afford many more injuries, and I don't feel like you have that many that's actually destabilizing to your best 11, but it's enough when you're trying to win a title, and also you don't have the huge ability to rotate at the moment is the real consequence.
It's more the latter that for me. Like thinking, I know it's not relevant to fantasy, but the Zagreb game on Wednesday, like gonna have to play players that you'd like to rest and rotate. But yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, but does he say like Gabriel? I suppose if Saliba's at Gabriel's got to play against Zagreb, is he? He's not going to go
Yeah,
like Kivior on Timber at centre back, is he?
no, I don't think so.
You'd probably like to give Lewis Skelly a break as well. I mean, he's done great actually.
Yeah, even the likes Zinchenko will probably come in. But yeah, not really relevant to fantasy. But yeah, frustrating one.
He's not done and dusted yet, this title race. I think the next three Liverpool away games are crucial. Bournemouth away, Everton away, and Manchester City away. If they don't slip up in them, then you'd have to think it's going to be theirs, I think. The problem is with yourselves at the moment, you now need to get into a position where you're winning nearly every game.
Yeah, I just don't think we can with what's available. Look,
At this moment, no. But if you every individual game individually, it's like, yeah, I fancy Arsenal to win, I fancy Arsenal to win. You need to just get through for that. Then if you hit the run in, like the run you have, say, before you go to Anfield is really good. So by then you might have Saka back, for example. Should we do Sunday games? Yeah, let's go from one piece of pain to another.
ha, Everton 3, Tottenham 2. Where do you want to start with this one?
I better start about Everton because I won't talk about them at all. I'll talk about Goodison Park more on Tottenham on Wednesday. But yeah, famous old place. And I hope for the Evertonians that they stay up and don't go down in their final season. Those who listen to me regularly will know I consistently say that I think they will, and I think I saw reasons why yesterday. They scored some really nice goals from their perspective. I mean, the Ndai goal is created by some really nice interchange play, and then he carries it obviously nicely and scores. There's definitely more football from Everton I saw yesterday than what we've seen in the Sean Dyche games going beforehand. That said, I think even in that last 20 minutes, he did see some vulnerability. You saw the nerves kick in when Tottenham got the first. They played O'Brien at right back, and I think what that enabled was they were able to kind of shove into a back five off the ball, where Lindstrom was dropping from right wing back to, or right wing basically to right back, and then O'Brien sitting like a right-sided centre back, and then you're sitting with a five, and it feels comfortable rather than putting like a Coleman or an Ashley Young in a right-sided centre back position. Probably wasn't that comfortable. Whether it will stick or whether it was a specific for Tottenham, I don't know. If you want a defensive one for the double for Everton, it's Pickford. Clearly, I think is worth having, but no clean sheets yet for Moyes on his return. Mikalenko as the enabler, yes, I wouldn't be paying the price of Brantwaite or Tarkovsky, to be honest. Yes, in a double, there's every chance you get something nice out of it, but I wouldn't be paying the extra for it personally. And Diane Calvert-Lewin will capture some interest. On Calvert-Lewin, I will remind you who he played against yesterday.
Yep. Dr. Tottenham.
But I would say he was really good. His hold up play was great. Actually, he looked like a good Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Do I want to go and buy that for fantasy? Absolutely not. Do I want to go and buy and die? No, not really either. Actually, the one thing with the system did allow with Lindstrom dropping in, it allowed him to get off the flank and get into the more danger zones.
Yeah, especially
But
against your back three, right? It kind of made for a nice matchup.
Tottenham
And
so brittle in that area against people that run at them, right? So Everton aren't going to get that luxury against Brighton this week. Excuse me, for example. The appeal, of course, is that the first game of the double is Leicester as well, right? And the fixtures after the double are good until the blank.
yeah,
So I get it, but would I be flipping? For example, you got Jimenez. Would I flip him to Ndai or Calvert Lewin? No, it's just
nah.
not. It's a no for me.
I wonder if people will be looking at 24 Moisey for the Arsemanship.
You could that you've obviously got good home game in Leicester. Then obviously the potential bonus with Liverpool. But then the two afterwards, Palace United, are not likely to be bonus games now.
True. Yeah.
So you want, if you've got United at home, I think with the assistant manager chip, you want that to be a bonus game, right?
Yeah, good point.
It's not gonna be for Everton. And I don't think, I mean, it could be if Palace did got a couple more good results in the next two. It could be that Palace would be, but do you actually fancy Everton to go to Palace and get a result under that circumstance? No, not particularly. Of course, you could use a double and then chain it on, but not for me
Fair play.
personally.
From Tottenham, go on. Floor is yours, sir.
Oh, Jesus Christ. When we did Clash of Correspondence prior to our defeat to Newcastle, Ricky Saunders said, Ange is making it really difficult to defend me. And that's where I'm at. So, like, if the news came today that he'd been sacked, I'd be disappointed. That would still be my take. But I couldn't say, like, I could put up a defense now at this stage because that defeat yesterday is on him.
Why,
Yes,
when you say that's on him, what specifically do
yes,
you mean?
yes, the players have to take accountability. You can't you can't go in front of the media and all that and be like, this is who we're gonna be, etc., etc., and then go to Everton and change. Like if you'd gone to Arsenal and played a back five in midweek, and you go, all right, it's Arsenal away, there's every chance we're gonna get tanked. You want to frustrate them and do it differently. You go, okay. Now you've gone to Everton and change. And I just cannot be having these were the only fit 11 players that I've got. One, you've used Richarlison and Mikey Moore in each. So maybe you could have started Mikey Moore and then brought Richarlison on at half time, for example. That's one way of doing it. Or even with the same personnel, you could play it differently. I'd have played Kulusevski false nine. You could play Jed Spence right wing because Lord knows he's better than Heung-min Son at trying to take a man on, by the way. He completed more dribbles, Jed Spence, than every other Tottenham player combined yesterday from left back. So he could have played right wing. You could have played Pedro Porro right wing and played Spence behind and put Davis at left back. And it's almost like if you'd had to play three centre backs in the 11, I understand it a little bit more. Davis is like a centre back, left back hybrid that can kind of cover either. Fine. Archie Gray is not a centre back.
No.
So you sort of think, okay, Archie Gray's going back into midfield. And you're looking at it and you're going, and I know why he did it, because they line up the graph and it's like, okay, it's going to be Son on one wing and Kulusevski are the only two players that can play wide in this team because Maddison can't. So I thought, is it Maddison as a false nine because he cannot play in an Ange system as a winger? And then I said to someone before the game, I said, "Do you know what, this might be a back three because of that, specifically with Maddison was not going to play wide." And I concluded it must have been Maddison false nine.
Yeah.
15 minutes in, that system should have got abolished. Well, it should never have started in that against an opponent like Everton, and it should have got abolished after 15 minutes. There was no waiting to half time because it was that obvious that early in the game that they were going to destroy us. You understand what I'm saying? Everton
Yeah.
were going to destroy us. So I can't defend it. I can't see it. This is nice. And what can I say on yesterday specifically to defend him? That defeat is solely on him and the way he's set up because he's gone too far away from what he wants to be. It's like Solanke, obviously, it's obviously really unlucky that he's got injured on Saturday. Sounds like he took a shot in training and his knee's gone. Like,
Oh,
great.
really? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it's not one of them, muscle, it sounds like a bit of a freak one. So I don't know if he's like planted his foot wrong after his shot or what. I don't know yet. We haven't got the prognosis. It's suggested about 6 weeks. If you own, you're definitely selling. But then it's like he looked around and went, "Can you put your hand up if you're fit?" And he's decided on that 11 that that's what he's got, and he's got to go for back three. I don't know why he's done that.
Yeah.
He had the players to still play a back four.
Yeah,
Really,
and I get
really,
the
really
point. It's like,
frustrating.
why at Everton do you go and do that? It is a tricky one though. Like without your kind of number nine, without your first choice left back, two centre backs. But
Listen, we got put in a worse position again. So it's like this is how we're running at the moment. We got Ben Davis back, great, and Ben was okay yesterday. But between the North London derby and this game, we've now lost Solanke, Basuma, and Johnson. That's how we're running. I get it, right? There's that. That's his only excuse at the moment is there's too many players that are injured. And I do want to judge him again when particularly Van der Ven and Romero are back. I also told you after we drew with Fulham, which was the end of November, that this team can't function without Solanke. So now you've got to put all this burden on Richarlison again. And Richie was fine when he came on yesterday, but we cannot afford for him to get injured. And I don't know if we can afford to be playing this bloke twice a week. So problems continue. Get Mikey Moore in the team, please. Enough now. Enough. And I realise he missed most of the winter period through illness and stuff. Yeah, he offered me more in 15 minutes than what Heung-min Son has done in the last month, actually. So Mikey got the ball and went to run at people. Great delivery for the second goal.
yep.
Yes, it's putting another baby in the team, but I mean, fuck it. The league season is so irrelevant. We're not. You look at them bottom three. We're not in trouble. We're not going to go down. We probably only need maybe 2 or 3 wins.
That's what I said to my mate. My best mate's a Spurs fan, and he's genuinely concerned about relegation. I was like, mate, you're not in a relegation
If
battle.
Ipswich had like won yesterday, and Leicester had beat Fulham, and you're playing Leicester next, you start looking over your shoulder. What I would say is, obviously, if we lose to Leicester on Sunday, then it goes from, well, we only probably need to win maybe 3 games. You go, we can't win this one. What are you going to fucking win?
What would you say is the probability that he actually gets the boot, Ange, at the
I
minute?
don't think you will. I think probably the pivotal week will come when we play the cup games against Liverpool and Villa. If the league situation hasn't improved between now and then you get beat twice in 4 days, which to be honest, that's the most likely outcome, isn't it? Going to Anfield and going to Villa Park. The most likely outcome is we go out those 2 cup competitions within 4 days, and then it's just Europa left. Then they might make a change, yeah. Possibly. I don't think there'd be a change before that. But again, like if we lost on Sunday, however bad it is, Tottenham shouldn't be losing that football match this forthcoming Sunday. I can
Yeah,
understand that you can go to Everton, manager bounce, get under it. It can be one of them places again. You've seen your team lose there, right? Even in the
cheers.
Arteta years a couple of times, right?
Yeah,
It is one of them places where if they get up and the crowd gets, you can sink there. It's weird,
100%.
but you can. But we sunk yesterday because of the team he picked, right?
Yeah, Leicester at home,
Ultimately,
it's different.
obviously Sunday, yeah, they can't. No matter what the team, even if he has to like dip into more young players, honestly, it should be good enough to go and get the result against that team on Sunday. So he can't not win that game on Sunday. If we lose it, then yeah, people are generally going to talk about it as a possibility. I'm not particularly concerned about it.
What was
More
the mood
just,
in the away end?
oh, well, you can imagine.
Is it?
Again, I'll speak about it more on Patreon, but it was more like a piss take. They had like a 5 minute period where they were just singing, "We've got the ball, we've got the ball, we've lost the ball, we've lost the ball." Bored, bored, decided to like entertain themselves. There was certainly no Anjan chanting. There was certainly you will hear individuals, and I heard individuals saying that walking out the ground at the Emirates, by the way. But most of the anger is directed towards the chairman at the moment. I still ideally want to judge Ange when he's got his centre backs back because I just think that's so damning for anybody. But I can't, exactly what Ricky said a couple of weeks, I can't put a defence up for him on yesterday. That was basically the worst one under him because it was specifically definitively his fault. Don't care how many players are out injured yesterday. For fantasy, are you stupid?
Richarlison, no, in Solanke's absence.
The thing is, and to be honest, you do look at the next four, and the one thing you will say about Martin, he will still score goals
You will.
by virtue of him playing up front against Leicester, Brentford, Manchester United, and Ipswich. There's every chance he'll do all right. But clearly, it's worth saying he's not 100% fit yet. He takes the goal well yesterday, but he can't miss. But he arrives at the right time. I've seen a few people talking about buying Son this week.
You've not been keen on him for a few weeks now, anyway, have you?
He's in the team at the moment because there isn't an alternative to take him out.
Damning.
Um, and if you said to me now, do you know what? Ange is going to go, he's going to proper put his nuts on the line and go, Sunday, do you know what? I'm taking you out the team and I'm putting Mikey Moore in it. Yes, please.
Yeah, fair
Yeah,
play.
but yeah, give me the future. In these league games, because it's kind of irrelevant, give me the future now. I want Mikey Moore in the team. Son has been gone for so long. The captaincy needs taking off him. He's offering absolutely nothing. Could he do well against Leicester at the weekend for fantasy football? Yeah, do you know what he could? Because you know what Son is? He's like 2, 2, 2, 11, 2, 2. That's what he's going to be now, where every 4 or 5 games or so, he'll have a decent return for you. But at the top end, he's just not offering it at all. And I get it. Do you know what? He's making himself available every week where others have got injuries. So I have a little bit of sympathy. But I hope that Tottenham offered him the new contract because they want to get a fee for him in the summer.
Yeah, more of a
It's
tactical
over.
thing. Fair play. Looking
And
forward to listening to
there,
Tottenham
there,
on
there
Patreon
are.
this week.
I mean, there are others that are
I think that's the thing. I can
bad,
tell,
man.
like, we need to move it on now to the next game, but I can tell
Just want
there's
to say,
still a
Jed
lot
Spence
more.
played really well. I know I mentioned him before. He was the one Tottenham player to kind of really come out the game with a bit of credit yesterday.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah, can hear more of Hammers' thoughts on Tottenham on Patreon later this week. On to the next one. Man United 1, Brighton 3. It's now 3 wins in a row at Old Trafford for Brighton, I believe. Herzl are doing a good job.
Yeah, and like 6 wins in 7 against them overall or something, I think. And I don't think anyone's truly surprised. I just wasn't sure that Brighton would have the legs, having played Thursday, Sunday is obviously an unusual one for them.
It was funny for me, if I could just add before you get into the game. I was at a family event yesterday, live in North London. Family's all Man United fans, and they're kind of checking the score, and I'm just
You've
sat
got
there.
family who's Man United.
Yeah, I know. Live in London as well, don't we?
Okay, that's a dig. It's
Oh,
your
they're
own
extended
family.
family. It's not like it's not deleted.
Oh,
Yeah.
extended. Oh, it doesn't. That ain't family, mate.
No, I meant it's not my dad, is what I was trying to say. My dad's an Arsenal man.
Listen, if I got family that supports anyone other than Tottenham, they ain't family, mate. It's nothing to do with me. For United, question marks, of course. So Euro's now played left-sided centre back in this one. He had a really difficult night on Thursday. I was surprised, but I guess maybe Lisandro Martinez needed a rest. Okay, that's okay. Southampton might have been a better game to do that in when you got like Minter on that side. Not that you know exactly what team Brighton are going to pick, by the way. I think United had one shot on target in the game, which was the penalty.
Yeah, you're right.
I said a lot about United on Thursday, so I don't want to repeat that too much. I'd advise people to go back and listen to it because it's towards the end of the podcast on Friday where I spoke about real problems in terms of them scoring goals. Any additional one I'd add on, which a few of the United patrons talking about is like, should Onana come out of the team? Because on both those goals in the second half is a bit weird.
Yeah.
On the cross, he needs to commit. Can't just stay there, man.
But then what? I feel like I was watching
Mitoma
again.
scores on the line from a cross.
Yeah, it
That's
wasn't
not.
great in
It's
this
not like
game.
across the byline. He scored at the near post in front of him. It's behind him.
There was a game recently. I can't remember if it was actually the Southampton one though, where I thought he did really well. So yeah, maybe it's just a bit of inconsistency.
I mean, I also think Binder obviously kind of had the headlines against Arsenal in the FA Cup game, but I saw Binder at Tottenham in the Carabao Cup quarter-final. I did not think he was great at all, right? So, but yeah, I mean, Onana on the third goal was it's not good, is it?
Yeah, not
So
great.
there's a confidence issue there thing, and I guess the additional thing which must be mentioned is Amrim's comments.
Which one? Because I've seen a few doing the rounds.
Well, there's the very, very big one that he said this might be the worst Manchester United of all time,
Yep.
paraphrasing somewhat. But yes, that's pretty much what he said. We might be the worst Manchester United of all time. There's two sides to this. One, I think it's okay for him to message people and say, look, this is a big problem. I also like the fact that he went in there and said, look, I've won 2 games since I've been here, basically. And I'm absolutely aware that I've won less games over the period than the guy that got sacked beforehand. And it's not good enough. He's kind of spelling out the problem. He's also told everyone, honestly, look, it's not going to change his system and stuff. But at the same time, I don't really think that you can come out and say that this is the worst team of all time because I don't know what that does for a set of players that is really, really short of confidence.
Yeah, I think he probably doesn't give a shit, to be honest. I think a lot of this is
He's
weeding out
thinking
the.
longer term, yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
get
he's
it, yeah.
he's probably assessing who he wants, who he doesn't, and even me from the outside looking in, like I'm not really assessing Amorim until August, to be honest. Like give him a summer transfer window to get players in he wants to fit a style of play he wants, and then kind of look at it for next year. So in terms of those comments, again, it's easy for me to say from the outside looking in. I can't speak from Man United fans how they perceive that comment, but I think he probably doesn't care. I think if anything, it will help him identify who he wants to keep around.
Yeah, still some good fixtures for United. I think Fulham away this week, probably not invested in. And to be honest, if both teams play to their proper capacity on Sunday, Fulham will beat them. Because
Yep.
right now they're a better football team than Manchester United.
Yep, they are. There are a few people that kind of moved on. Ahmed, I've seen a lot of people have Bruno at the minute as well. Like, is there anything to be
I mean, the fixtures are
wary
good
of?
after Fulham, right? Palace at home, Tottenham away is great for the offensive guys. Everton away, Ipswich at home. Yes, then there's Arsenal, but then they covered a blank really nicely with the Leicester away fixture. Then there's 3 really rough ones on the other side of the blank. If I was looking at United and I owned any at the moment, I would be keeping a close eye on Diallo, but I wouldn't be doing it this week. I don't think I'd be looking at anything else. I don't think Bruno Fernandes owners don't need to necessarily cut, but again, if you're looking at Fernandes potentially towards a Diaz or if Jota's available, it's going to appeal now, isn't it? I
Yeah,
think
Bruno
you'll end up
feels like
considering it.
the Odegaard in my team right now. It just feels a bit meh. I feel like I can definitely find something more exciting.
But I also think he's going to continue to contribute at the top end. I mean, he has to because as we discussed on Friday's pod, like outside of him and Diallo, you don't actually really fancy anything else to get attacking returns, whether it's Hoyland, Xerxes up front. For Brighton, good result. Welbeck back has been a big plus for them over the last kind of week or so. Comes back off the bench against Norwich and they win 3 games in a row. They were admittedly already winning comfortably before he come on. I think that front four is their best four. So right to left, Minter, Pedro, Welbeck, and Mitoma. And what they did yesterday, from the bits I've seen, is obviously left Minter and Mitoma really high, dropped the 2 9s as like tens basically, which again pinned back United's fullbacks. I'm going to do a piece on that for Talking Tactics for advanced tier patrons this week about different ways Manchester United keep getting pinned in to back five. Southampton and Brighton have done it to them in very different ways, forcing the fullbacks to, I mean, I say fullbacks, wing backs almost
Yep.
being forced to be Manchester United's deepest players. Um, Not sure I dive into Brighton at this moment though. Everton next, but then Forest and Chelsea. By the way, can I just say on the first goal, Mitoma's first touch, Clayton?
So good.
This, I thought
He's a joke.
his first touch is outrageous. Daniel,
Ow.
Karen
Yeah,
Mitoma, please.
he is unbelievable to watch, isn't he?
Yeah, brilliant player. And I no sooner as I kind of criticize, you don't get enough attacking returns scored in a couple in a row. But actually, despite the fact it's Everton next, I wouldn't be buying Brighton new. If you're a Joao Pedro owner, I think you stick this week and assess
It's
next
funny.
week.
Like he literally had the ball in the back of the net. To be fair, I know it
Yes,
was correctly ruled out, but
correct decision. Just a quick one as well on the Manchester United penalty. I know a few people think that should be a red card. I think it's not because there's 2 things. One, the goalkeeper is so close to Xerxes and two is another Brighton player gets back on the line. And I think by definition, this is the problem with definition of dogso. If there's like another defender in between the goal and you, it's not a one-on-one chance.
Yeah,
So it's
okay.
not considered a red card. I think that's the way they'd have looked at it. Another big win for Nottingham Forest, Clates.
Yeah, bloody hell, they're flying, aren't they? But it was squeaky
Had some,
bum time
yeah, had
at
some
the
brown
end.
trousers about it.
Yeah, Nottingham Forest 3, Southampton 2. I mean, 13 wins for Forest in the league. They're joint second with Arsenal, 44 points. What a season. But yeah, flipping hell, Olorena at the end. Oh my
I
God.
don't care who you are, right? If a board goes up, you're winning 3-1, and a board goes up with 12 minutes added on, and then
You were
you
shitting
concede
it.
straight away to make it 3-2. I don't care whether you're Man City, Forest, Ipswich, whomever, you're gonna shit yourselves. And Southampton so nearly got the point out of this. I don't know if they'd have deserved it. I've only seen the little bits of highlights last night. But it's good credit to them because what we always say about them is like when their heads go, they're gone and they
Yeah.
can get battered. And I'm sure their Southampton fans would have been thinking yesterday, shit, this is another 5-6 or something like that.
And you could see it with the players at 3-0. Like the heads dropped, like they were kind of visibly angry with themselves. So yeah, it was impressive to kind of even get back into it from them.
Yeah, it's a shame Suleimana didn't start again. I'd like to have seen him properly go up against Aina. I understand, tight turnaround from Thursday and a lot of effort went into that. We think it's not confirmed that Tyler Diblin might be out for around about a month or more.
Ah, it's a blow.
Yeah, isn't it? Because I liked the idea of watching Diblin and Suleimana, not for fantasy purposes necessarily, over these next couple of weeks, seeing how that would work with Fernandez in between that. So that's a disappointment. Ultimately, you're not gonna stop conceding enough goals to get themselves out of this trouble, basically. But it's good for them. I think they've, despite a weird one, despite losing twice this week, they probably feel a lot more positive this week.
Yeah,
I
and I
should
watched the Man
imagine.
United game. I know you guys covered it, but yeah, even I was quite impressed with them last week.
I do think as well, like having watched the first half of Ipswich yesterday on the coach, my dad was like, "Why are you watching more football?" I'm like, "'Cause I need to watch some different football, mate." As it would, I wouldn't be surprised if Southampton won at Ipswich in game at 24, as it
Okay.
stands. Yeah, considering their last two away performances and what I've seen from Ipswich, and obviously everybody playing Southampton goes into must-win mode. Southampton might do well that day.
Yeah,
That
possibly.
would be a
Just
huge blow to Ipswich if that happens.
one controversial one from this game was the disallowed Milenkovic goal. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I think that's an interpretation, isn't it? I mean, firstly, Ramsdale just catch it,
Oh,
and we don't have to have this
bloody
debate.
hell. Yeah.
Personally, I think I would probably prefer that sort of goal to be disallowed.
Yeah,
But
me too.
I also like if it had stood, I certainly wouldn't be sitting there going, it's a terrible decision.
It's interesting because for me, I'm like, he's clearly interfering. Like, I personally don't really get it.
I think so. On a set play from there, and then you move towards the ball, think, does he really stop on you actually winning the header? No, but you can't prove that he doesn't. And therefore, if there's suspicion that there's interference, then yeah, probably should be disallowed. I mean, Milenkovic is still heading it, by the way. I don't think Wood plays a role in terms of impeding Ramsdale's vision. It can't do at the
No.
point of the header or anything. So yeah, I just feel like it's in that proximity. Yeah, I'd probably prefer them to be disallowed, but I wouldn't have
Okay.
cared if it had stood either. Forest next, Bournemouth away, clearly challenge. Brighton at home, challenge. Fulham away, challenge. Newcastle away, challenge. Arsenal at home, challenge. Manchester City at home, challenge. Chris Wood is killing me.
Me too. And I'm still not going there.
I'm not going there either. I mean, hey James. I mean, the irony is, had I known Solanke was injured going into this week, I may yes have gone. Oh, punt Wood. I think I still just would have gone Gakpo early. I think under that circumstance. So yeah, look, those who've got Chris Wood, you're not selling, and I get that. And there's nothing to fear in the immediate that suggests you should. He's talisman. When Forest score, there's a good chance that he's going to score. Takes the header ever so well yesterday. Am I chasing it? No. Also, a little note on Forest. Hudson-Odoi obviously went off injured in the first half. Don't know the extent of that at the moment, but if he's going off in the first half, I suggest it's probably a problem. And unfortunately, he is a player who has a history of injury issues. If he's missing for a while, that'd be a blow.
Yeah.
Because I think what it will possibly mean is that teams can overcompensate a little bit more against Elanga. because they're a dual threat, aren't they?
Yeah.
If you're ending up with doing something like, I don't know, you're moving like Dominguez out wide, for example, which is kind of what they've done yesterday, then it's not the same, is it? You can compensate to, okay, let's make sure we double up on Elanga. Teams can see that differently. So I think that would be a big blow if he's missing for a bit, Hudson-Odoi. Defensive guys, I guess, would be very disappointed not to get returns out of it yesterday. But let's be honest, guys, you've all run really, really well, haven't you? Again, I'm not chasing that defensively. I will have a look again at Nottingham Forest in game week 29. No interest in me between now and then. So put their 15 points on the board now as they fight to win the title, which
They
they're not going to do. I'd love it. I'd love it if they did, but they're not going to.
I'm sure I saw a match of the day. They said it's the same points at the same point of the season that Leicester had, right?
Yeah, can we also remember that that year Leicester would have won the title with 72 points?
Is that what it was?
Well, you finished second on 71, I believe.
Wow.
We finished third on 70.
Yeah, Liverpool aren't going to end up on that, are they?
So listen, Leicester got to 80 or 81, I think. Forest will have to punch above that, I think. I don't see
Yeah.
Liverpool finishing on less than that, 80, 81. So I'd be surprised if Liverpool finished lower than say 84.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, no, good luck to him.
But as I said on Friday, if Forest come through these next five and are in a Champions League spot, I think they'll finish the season in one.
Yeah, what a story that would be.
Absolutely.
On to the penultimate one of the weekend. Ipswich nil, Man City 6. And it's funny, like against Brentford, we were seconds away from Man City quietly putting together a good little run here. They obviously since they lost against Villa, drew against Everton, then beat Leicester, West Ham. They battered Salford in the cup, and like I said, seconds away from beating Brentford, but 6 goals away at Ipswich, regardless, is impressive.
Before they played Everton, which was a game I tipped up to be a draw, they had the five really good fixtures. With top of my ticker over that five, starting with the Everton game. I said we should expect City to get like 12, 13 odd points in these 5 games. They've got 11. Now, a full Manchester City going for the title needs to be getting more than 11 from them five fixtures, let me tell you.
Yeah.
However, yesterday did feel like a little bit of a change in the sense there was a ruthlessness, and you could have been fooled and kidded into thinking, well, there's been nothing wrong with City all season. This is absolutely fine. That's the biggest away win, I think, of any team this season. There's been a few 5-0s. I don't think there's been a 6-0. Might even be the biggest in any game, possibly. We had a 6-0 this year?
Not that I can remember. I'm
Don't
sure
think
there will
so.
be, but
I'm sure Haaland will find one. Can we just say Jeremy Doku assisted Erling Haaland for a proper goal, and it was really good. And so shout out to Jeremy Doku. City have found something in the last couple that's began to work for them, I would suggest, defensively. Still has some vulnerabilities defensively. I mean, Ruben Diaz being back is a big plus. The headline here is Matthias Nunes
yeah,
has now started the
interesting
last couple
position.
of games as a right back, and we're talking about him not moving into midfield, which is probably what you'd expect from a player like that. No, we're talking about him pushing higher to effectively almost become City's right winger in stages of possession. The fantasy knock on of that is you are moving Phil Foden from a wide position into areas where he's very dangerous and very difficult to pick up. And clearly, he is absolutely on a streak now.
He is indeed. But the fixture for people thinking of going there, what do you reckon? Because I think I saw in the questions there were a few around that. But it's Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, Newcastle home, Liverpool home. Should I include Tottenham and then Forest
Well,
away?
Van der Ven and Romero should be fit by
Yeah,
then, so maybe.
but yeah, it's a tricky one. What would the advice be to people that are
First time Van
tempted
der
by
Ven
him?
and Romero didn't play when we won 4-0 at City, by the way. So, yeah, you should. I think for that particular fixture and the dynamic, you probably should include Tottenham in that.
Yeah. Well, what's the advice for people thinking of going there?
Avoid.
Because you're right, he's on a little streak. Yeah, just straight up avoid. Yeah.
Yeah, for me. I mean, if people want to go to Foden, he's on a brilliant streak. Like, can he do bits? Yes, of course he
Because
can.
they're finding their groove now, and like, could that be the thing that gets them through these tough fixtures?
But I also think, and listen, no doubt yesterday you see a confidence lift in them, right? De Bruyne looks fit at the moment. Foden's beginning to fire, right? That in turn adds a layer of support to Haaland where you're not so reliant. We did a piece earlier in the season. It was like Haaland's got like 60% of City's attacking returns. Like someone else has got to chip in. Well, Phil Foden is doing it now. I still think ultimately Nunes playing right back, like that's fine. Does anybody remember the errors against Manchester United when he ended up
Yeah,
in that
good point.
position? right? And over the next few weeks, he's going to have to play against people like I'm guessing probably Jadon Sancho, Trossard or Martinelli, Anthony Gordon, Gakpo or Diaz,
Yeah, when you put it like
Mikey
that.
Moore, hopefully. So now you've got a different challenge.
Yeah.
And I'd bear that in mind. Ipswich looked, unfortunately, and I only watched the first half. I couldn't be bothered to watch the second. They look like one of the worst three teams in this league by quite a distance. They looked like a typical promoted team that was just getting well bullied by a very, very good Manchester City opponent. And they changed too many in the team. He seems to be doing this thing, McKenna, where he keeps changing his mind in terms of what he wants to play at the back at the moment. I don't think it's proven helpful. I do know Axel Twanzebe returned yesterday off the bench, and that's a big boost for them because they've definitely been better when he's played in games at right back. But you've had like Jacob Greaves come out of the team again yesterday. Wolfenden's come out of the team. Is give Godfrey his debut. Burgess has played. Johnson's played instead of Burns. Jack Clark's come into the team instead of Broadhead, who I think's done all right in recent games. Might be a fatigue element, so I understand that. Yeah, I'm struggling with them a little bit now to see them putting the points on the board. Yet the next two home games are Southampton at home and Tottenham at home. Like they can't not be winning either of those two games if they want to be realistic about getting out of this.
It is
I said,
tight at the bottom though. Like what they're on
yeah,
the same points as Wolves.
I know, but it's like I said, over the next three fixtures, including the weekend that's just gone, and obviously Wolves haven't played yet this week. So Wolves need to end these next three games. Ipswich need to end these next three games above Wolves because then it begins to flip where Ipswich's fixtures look tougher and Wolves begin to look a lot better. I mean, if you look actually at Ipswich's fixtures from 25 up to 34, Villa away, Tottenham, Man United, Palace, Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves at home critically, but then Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle, then there's a good last four. Right. Well, as it stands, unless you're doing something in some of them home games like I'd suggested, then by the time they get to that last final four, it ain't gonna matter.
So all I'm hearing is Arseman for the final four on Kieran McKenna.
Probably not
That
because you
was
won't
tongue in
even
cheek.
you won't even get the bonus in 35 or 37 because Everton and Leicester will probably presumably still be within five of them. I don't think, despite all the jokes about Tottenham and United and stuff like that, I struggle to think that anybody at this moment doesn't think that it's the three promoted teams will go down. I mean, I can imagine there'll be some nervous Wolves and Everton fans. Everton are going to be fine. And I'm pretty convinced that Wolves will be as well once they just get over this hurdle of the next few fixtures are rough. I wouldn't be surprised if they dipped into 18th, but I think they'll get out of it. You look at their run from the sort of similar period from, let's say, 28. I mean, 28 to 32, they play Everton at home, Southampton away, West Ham at home, Ipswich away, and Tottenham at home. They could get 15 points out of that if they're at it.
Yeah, definitely possible. Thank you,
So
everybody.
yeah,
That's
really concerned for Ipswich. If people want to go Foden because he's hit form and spell and they've got money in the bank, particularly if they don't have people like Trent, then yes, fine. You're doing it on form. I'm a fixtures guy, so it's
me
going to be
too.
a no from me.
Fair
And
play.
I guess
Yeah.
if you own Haaland, you're moving now, are you? If you've gone,
That'll be
if
interesting to
you've
see
been
what people
Haaland
do.
against Salah, you're cutting now, aren't you, surely?
Yeah, it's got to be now. But it'll be so typical. Like he goes and kind of gets a consistent streak of one goal
I
in
also
whatever.
think the unfortunateness of the weekend's results with Newcastle's result, Ipswich's result means I think we really were looking at a period where if this weekend's fixtures had been last weekend, I think we'd have had a real big salary sack debate. I'm not sure we will so much now. It's not if
Yeah,
people want to go Isak, it's still absolutely fine. But I see progress in Southampton, definitely. They have been slapped at home regularly, it's worth saying. Newcastle had a bad day. But the biggest one is, I need a reason to go against Mo. Well, it's just conceded six.
yeah. The way the chips have landed, it's not going to happen, is it?
No, not for me.
Thank you, Amiz. Thank you, everyone. That's a wrap of all the games. Do you want to talk through the schedule for the week while I look through the questions? We did cover a lot of them, so I'll try to find one or two that we didn't.
Okay. Schedule People's Poll podcast tomorrow. Um, Vote is probably out at the time you see or watch this. It's going to be FPL themed. There are three potential topics to vote on. So one is what would we do if we were on wildcard now? I'm doing this with Suj, by the way. Sorry, Clates. Using a chip in game week 24, we look at the pros and cons of using all the different chips in game week 24, which would even include like free hit or wildcard in then that week. Or an interesting one, what might a free hit in the blanks of game week 29 and game week 34 look like? Looking at potentially what it might look like based on how it stands currently and also factoring in the current projections for those two blank game weeks later in the season. That might help with some future planning. Wednesday's Clayton and James show will include obviously discussion on Chelsea Wolves tonight, tomorrow's Champions League games. We'll also do a bit of a feature on Dennis Law on that as well. Obviously, sadly passed away ahead of the weekend's games. Thursday clash of correspondence says Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest with Neil Grove and Mark Summers. Ask James Friday 1:30 p.m. UK time. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. It includes me and Clayton doing our Patreon Q&A today. UCL Fantasy tomorrow. Tottenham, where I can properly lose my shit on Wednesday. Game Week 23 preview podcast on Friday. And on Thursday, we've got a bit of a nostalgia as well. 30 years on from the famous Eric Cantona Kung Fu kick at Crystal Palace, which is a little bit of a spoiler for you, Clayton. There's an in-between for you as part of On This Day on the Clayton and James show on Wednesday.
Very nice. In terms of the questions, yeah, we did well at covering most of them. So one that we kind of covered, but didn't talk about this specific aspect of it. So at Tom Armitage has asked, for those who can get there, how confident are we of Ollie Watkins' minutes over the next 3 game weeks? So I know you spoke about Watkins in the next three, but what's your thoughts on his minutes over the next three?
So factor in for Villa, Monaco tomorrow. It's 5:45. Almost look at it at the moment. I think that's the most likely fixture for Duran to start, maybe. Considering Watkins has had issues. Everton Wednesday, Arsenal Saturday. Duran plays, maybe. Watkins came off what, about 80 on
Yeah, I think
Saturday?
it was around that. Yeah.
It's not to say he can't start again. Particularly as well, then it's till Sunday, West Ham. But you've got West Ham Sunday, Celtic Wednesday. We can't be sure at the moment how important that Celtic game will be. If they win at Monaco, they're pretty much assuring for top eight. And then maybe that's a rest one for him. So it'd be West Ham Sunday, Celtic Wednesday, then Wolves away Saturday. Then you got a big break to Tottenham in the FA Cup fourth round, then a big gap to the Ipswich home game. So I guess the information is quite important, and maybe on tomorrow night as the consequence of what that means for the Celtic game.
Yeah.
So if Villa win tomorrow, and they might win without Duran, with Duran up front. Sorry, that would be the ideal for you. Villa win tomorrow with Duran up front, feel safe for top eight, and I think then Watkins, you could definitively say, would get really good minutes in the next 3 league games. The thing is, as well, though, on what I see on Saturday, I would say that's Ollie Watkins getting back towards his best.
Yeah, that's the feeling
Don't,
I felt as well.
yeah, so don't piss about with that too much.
Yep, fair play. And then final question of the show, our good friend Gary Fantamantle. After Clayton told the story of how he got injured at the start of the year, does he know who Dave Besant is and Santiago Canizares? Canizares was the goalkeeper, right? I think
So
Valencia.
Dave Besson was also a goalkeeper.
All
Yeah,
right. I don't. No, I know who Canizares is. I think I don't know who Besant is. I have to talk about my bloody injury now, don't I? Why did I ask that question out loud?
talk about it.
No, we'll keep that for Patreon. That's for the Patreon community on the Q&A. So if you want to hear about the story, you can subscribe to Patreon at www.planetfpl.com. No, it's patreon.com/planetfpl. That's the one. That's a wrap, Hammers. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Just looking at the blue sky question, I don't think there's anything particularly that
Oh yeah,
we
sorry,
haven't
I'm not on
covered
Blue
in
Sky.
there either. That's okay. Don't follow Clayton on Blue Sky. You can follow me there. As always, everyone, thank you very much. If you're watching on YouTube, smash a like, hit the sub. 5-star review goes a really long way on the audio, people. Please be nice to each other and remember to play it your way. Cue music, please, man child.